Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
All right, everyone, welcome. Thank you for coming to this May 19th, 2026 Board of Trustees meeting. If you'll all please join me in pledging allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, so the first item we have is approval of the minutes from May 5th, 2026. Did everyone get a chance to review them? Yes. Can I get a motion to approve? Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? Second item is approval of the warrant. Do you have that? Yeah.
I move that we approve warrant number 051926 in the amount of $39,525.33.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, next item is department reports. Chief Hurley?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. So far for the month of May, 101 summons have been issued, 481 incident reports completed, 93 in Grandview, remaining 388 here in Piermont. And just a reminder to everyone that New York State is participating in the Bundle of New York over the next 2 weeks, so you're going to see a lot of checkpoints and extra patrols, all funded by New York State grant money. And since our last meeting, we completed over 30 pools on IW regarding bus, trucks, and there were about 20 summonses issued for violations ranging from cell phones, seatbelts, trucks, buses, so we're up there and we're going to continue being up there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Charlie.
Just a quick note, I'm certified now through the state until the end of 2027. I completed all my courses for the year, so that's done. The certificate's been given down to the clerk's office, and I think you're going to hear from me plenty tonight for the rest of the meeting. That's it.
And next, Dan President, here is Mark.
Dan Sherman, Parks. Continue looking into replanting the sea oaks in the North Parking Lot Islands. They were originally planted in 2007, and they looked great for 10 years, and then they just got weeded out, so we took them out. So the parking lots are 35 by 9, and I think I can put forth 120 plugs into each island. So that's 480 plugs. They come in trays from North Creek Nursery at 50 in a tray, some rounding up to 500. The trays are $88 and change, so that's like $900. And I'll have volunteers plan. Do you need to see again what they look like?
No, I think we're good. So if I'm remembering right, we still have a little over 1,000 in contingency, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to utilize the contingency funds to cover this planting?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, next item is old business. Jennifer, do you have any old business?
I just wanted to update the board. We received the tax bills, we're already enveloping, and we have 2 notices that will be going in everyone's bill. We did it in colored paper so that they would notice that they can now pay their bill online on the website, and that we have a new website and they can sign up for subscribe to alerts and notifications. So the new website's going live on Thursday. Once it's up, you can scroll down to popular resources, and then you can actually subscribe to get a notification either by email or text message. And whatever department you choose, so if it's Board of Trustees, every time something hits the website, you'll get a notice, whether it's an email or a text message telling you there's something new, whether it's an agenda or minutes or whatever is posted in every department. So that would be helpful. There will also be alerts for weather and other things. So I encourage everybody to please make our new website as good as possible by signing up and, participating in it. All right, so that's all I have for old business.
Excellent. Anyone else have old business?
Yeah, pursuant to building inspector's notices and his violation on the lot across the street, I see there's been some construction equipment that is moved within the confines of the fence, and there's some remediation of the dangerous hazards that were left there at the time before that fence comes down. Do we have any updates either from the building department or Mr. Mayor?
I do. They were in there last Friday doing work, filling in the holes and removing all of the bamboo that has overgrown in the last couple of years. They are expecting delivery of a wooden fence material for a 4-foot code compliant fence for the front yard to be delivered tomorrow. And once that fence has been erected, then the green triangle fence can be taken down. So it's unclear if that's all going to be able to happen tomorrow. The builder hasn't been made yet, so I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. But that's what they're telling me at this point, and I think without being overly optimistic, we can expect that the fence will be down in the next week or so, worst case scenario.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other old business? New business. Jennifer, do you have new business?
New business, so the Dennis McHugh Library submitted earlier today a special event application to hold their Juneteenth celebration on Saturday, June 20th at 11 a.m. And they usually have the street closed in front of the library, and so they are requesting the board's approval on that.
Okay, so if this is going to require a street closure, then we need to do a permit, but we can sponsor it as a social event. Would that be appropriate for
The
June?
village is a sponsor, at least a co-sponsor, that fees can be waived.
I think that would make sense for us to do. Would someone like to make a motion to sponsor it?
I'll make a motion.
We're here, second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, that was rescheduled to the 20th from the 18th because there was a conflict with the schedule.
Right, the concert, yes. He came in with the application, and I'm like, wait, the 18th is the concert.
Any other new business?
No.
Anyone else?
Well, the only other thing that I had, Mayor, was the RCDAO lead program for you to sign for the police grant.
So this is an agreement from the county for us to enter into a grant arrangement with them for $5,000. There is another $10,000 one we're trying to track down, both of which need to be returned this week. So this one's $5,000, the other one's $10,000, and I need the board's authorization to sign them and send them back to the county. The deadline on this Thursday. So you want to make that motion? Your second. Thank you. All in favor? Anyone else in business?
Mike, can we close it? I can hear you though.
Okay, so the next item will be public comment, and for this evening, concerning we have a public hearing, and we also have some topics that a lot of people are going to want to comment on. I'm going to enforce the 3-minute rule per comment. So if you have a timer, please be respectful of the time. Well, that's not very extensive. Listen, that's hard. More than here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dennis Hardy, 21 Deer Street. The 3-minute rule, is that 3 minutes per subject? Anyway, I just want to say it's really great news regarding the website with communication to the residents. That's really fantastic. And just a follow-up on my favorite subject, the fence, and it's really great news what's happening. And I just want to thank the village board for enforcing our village code. Great job. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, well, I think that was going to be much more extensive public comment, but there was only one. So moving on to item number 7, or 7:15 public hearing for a local law to amend the village Piermont zoning code, chapter 210, so as to
repeal local law number 4 of 2023, which had created the central business multi-use zone district.
It was published for 7:15, so we
Okay.
have 5 minutes. See, maybe.
So yes, we're going too quick. So why don't we skip ahead to item 8? We have a review request from Catherine Mullen to have an Airbnb at 20 Oak Street. Is Ms. Mullen?
Hi, Catherine Mullen, 20 Oak Street.
Nice to meet you. So there is a process that we have for registering short-term rental. Have you been in contact with the building department? Do you have questions for us? Is there-
No, I was at the planning board last week and they passed their recommendation and Charlie knows that I don't have a kitchen in there, I have my own parking for whoever stays. And there's one other point and I checked that as well. It's still my primary residence, I live upstairs.
So this is the small space downstairs.
Yes, it's at the main entrance on Oak Street.
So is this something, so the planning board has approved it already? What's our goal here?
Their role is advisory to you, and they've offered a favorable recommendation.
So we need to make a motion to approve accepting this to our short-term rental registry?
If you're so inclined, you'll have to.
I mean, I see no problem personally. Does anyone have any concerns and those with that?
No, the planning board was pretty thorough. Was your primary residence and you have suitable parking? Those are the two issues they focus on.
I'll make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're gonna have to go a little slow.
Did we get
You're gonna have to go slow.
3 minutes left? The next item is going to take a bit of time, so rather than jump on that one yet.
Cybersecurity.
No, we're going to table one after we review that proposal. But these ones, 11 and 12 can be pretty quick, right? So we have item 11, review request from the Gary Larson Foundation to have amplified music and an ice cream truck at their annual event at the Cosmic Pavilion Saturday, July 25th. So typically, when people want to have amplified music, we make the request that they face the speakers away from the condos and towards the marsh. But we have permitted this a number of times in the past. Does anyone have any concerns about this particular request?
What's the timeframe?
That's fair. Did they give us any parameters on the
Oh,
contract?
yes. Well, everybody has to be vacated by 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So it cleans up and out. They usually start early in the afternoon, and they've been doing this for 20 years, so I've never had an issue of them not getting out on time. So I would imagine that by 10 p.m. they're over and done with and walk on.
And they amplified until then usually?
I don't think,
Some portion is cleaned up,
Yeah.
so they're probably not
Towards the end.
Okay.
yeah,
They should be quieted down by 8 or 9 o'clock.
yeah.
So, would someone, would someone like to make the motion that we approve that?
So,
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
So that motion was for the amplified music and the ice cream, correct? Yeah.
And then we also have a review request from Cook Doswick to have amplified music at the Gotham Pavilion on Saturday, July 11th, 2026. No ice cream truck. So, given the similarity to the previous request, would someone like to make a motion to approve this request for July 11th?
so moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? Aye. Okay, that's out of the way. And we still have 30 seconds. It's all right, we've been waiting like years for this. We've been waiting like 30 seconds.
But you clear the floor, get you some.
All right, so going back to item 7:15 public hearing, local law to amend the Village of Piermont zoning code, chapter 210. So as to repeal local law number 4 of 2023, which had created the central business multi-use zoning district.
closed, open the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, so public hearing is open. Are there any people signed up for comment on the public hearing? So we got a little list there. Chief, could you grab the other public board, please? Or it's up there already?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it's
Jennifer,
here.
it's like-
Yeah, thank you.
Another extensive list.
Yeah.
All right, Dennis, Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Yes, as you mentioned, this has been a long time. I attended the Supreme Court hearing regarding this issue, and I think tonight is the ending chapter of the CBN, which, had that been created, would have been the detriment of Main Street and Fairmont as we know it. So I'm glad tonight is going to happen, and great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment in this public hearing on this local law? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing? Hear a second? All in favor? Okay, public hearing closed, now we need to take action.
Mayor, I did share with you the proposed resolution to not in any way prejudge this board's.
Excuse me, it's really hard to hear
Yeah,
because
can you
the
turn that
fan
fan back off?
and the amplification. is
People
not
asking to
that
turn it
loud.
on, they were getting hot, that's why I turned it on.
At least until we finish this
Mr. Mayor,
resolution.
I shared with you a draft proposed resolution approving this local law, which I want to place on the record, is in no way to suggest that a majority of you are inclined to approve this local law. This is why we have a discussion about it, and if it turns out a majority of you are not comfortable with the form of the resolution, I don't know if the mayor shared it with you? Oh, great. So then I can segue to the next question if I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Has the mayor shared with you a draft resolution of this board approving of the adoption of this local law, which I believe will be, what number, Jennifer? It's not numbered yet until it's adopted. This will be local law number 5 of 2026, if it is adopted. So, have you all received a copy?
Yes.
And did you all read it?
Yes.
Did you read it twice?
Yes.
Did you have any questions for me or for the mayor? About it?
I think we need more time to read it. I just got it at 2:30 in the afternoon. And I'm not a lawyer, so it's no longer to read all that.
So you did not have a chance to finish it?
No.
I can sum it up for you. And I invite any member of the board to fill in any blanks or correct me if I'm inaccurate in my summary. So as you know, local law 4 of 2023 created the Central Business Multi-Use CBM zoning district, also, yes, CBM zoning district, which include, not only did it create a zoning district, map-wise, but it also created several provisions, regulations related to the adoption of the CBM zoning district. This local law that you're considering now, local law 5 of 2026, would repeal local law 4 of 2023 and all those regulations and everything and anything that was adopted as part of local law 4 of 2023. So essentially, the zoning code would go back in time with reference to just local law 4 of 2023 as if it never happened. So essentially, it's going to be the Business B zoning district, zoning regulations, and all those provisions for Business B, which would be applicable once you adopt this local law. Now, this is an important footnote, and it's right there on the first page or the second page. It's been my legal opinion as we sit here today, and since, what was it, October of 2024, Judge Greenwald of the New York State Supreme Court, in the court decision of Janice Young, Lara Healy Grisnar versus the Village of Piermont Developers, and that's Rockland County Index number 032252 2024. On October 10 of 2024, Judge Greenwald declared the local law 4 of 2023, open quote, and its progeny, the Central Business Multi-Use CBM District, close quote, to be both, open quote, null, void, and jurisdictionally invalid, end quote. As I sit here today, that is the law of the land. I know there's an appeal, but that appeal is still pending, and there's no preliminary injunction, there's no temporary restraining order, there's no TRO, there's nothing barring you from essentially codifying what the law of the land is right now, as per that Rockland County Supreme Court decision of October 10 of 2024. Also will give great clarity to not only Charlie Shaw and the rest of the building department staff as to what zoning regulations are going to be applicable and what was this CBM zoning district. Is it going to be CBM? Is it Business B? It will now be codified that it's Business B. So there will be clarity also for the general public, for potential developers, and so on. So that's a summary of what you would be adopting if you adopted this proposal.
And I'd just like to add to that, one of the examples of why we need to repeal this came up just a few weeks ago when the property owner came to Charlie and asked, well, what can I build on this property? And Charlie's got a printed out code book and opened it up, and it's from 2024, and it includes some of the language that was added as a result of local law number 4 of 2023. So just so everyone understands, this was not simply adding a new section, we have a map and there's a new zoning district with different rules. There were edits that happened throughout our building code. And so right now, if you open up the book and try to look up what happens in B, it shows no more than one residential unit per 150 square feet of lot size. And that was actually part of the adoption of CBM. So it's misleading and confusing, and what we need to do in order to make sure that we don't have any further confusion is get it off the books entirely, get a clean copy of the code, get E-Code 360 updated, so anybody that's looking to figure out what they can do by writing in the district and look it up through publicly available means.
What are we doing to come up with a new local law?
So we are in the process right now. We initiated, I believe in January, the creation of the comp plan update committee. And they are reviewing the reality of the situation is that our current zoning for the downtown area doesn't accommodate the existing built environment. That is one of the two major issues that they're evaluating that was not addressed in the comp plan. And they are hoping by the end of the year to make recommendations to us about updates to our comprehensive plan that would deal with that issue. Whether it's in the same exact way or a different way is yet to be determined. And at that point that they make those recommendations, the village board can determine that they would like to take some of those recommendations or all of those recommendations or none of those recommendations, and then go and update our comp plan. Once we have a comp plan which supports zone change, then we can pursue updating a zoning district, whether it be by creating a new zoning district or just changing what the rules are for Business B or any combination therein. But I would be most comfortable doing that work based off of a recommendation from the update committee and an adopted change to our comp plan that supports that zoning change.
And why don't we do these both at the same time? Repeal and replace, so there's no interim period of the old law.
Because that would mean we have to wait till next year to do them at the same time.
And you don't think you could rush this along? Or
I
push it to?
I don't want to even give the optics of trying to hurry anything along in terms of the comp plan update process. The comp plan committee initially thought we could get that done in 18 months, and we were like over 2 years by the time we were finished. So I don't want to put pressure on them that they're on, a countdown timer. And I don't actually see any hazard in us going back to the old law either. There are some circumstances where things might be challenging and require more variances under the old law than they would under the new law. But that's not to say that a future law wouldn't also require the same things. So until we've heard the recommendations, I think that it's our job to just get the books clean so nobody is confused about what ought to be able to be happening there, and we can do our enforcement without anyone saying, well, this is unfair because in the book it says something different than what you're enforcing.
And what happens if the appeal is won?
The appeal will be mooted by our repealing of this law.
Are we voting?
No.
No.
They just like
We are within our you're within your legislative authority to adopt laws that you, a majority of you, or a supermajority, if it's against the county GML disapproval, and I think, the county did that. I think they remanded for local decision,
Right.
the Rockland County Planning
One
Commission.
meeting majority.
And
So you only need 3 of you, so if the 3 of you find in your legislative discretion that this is good, in the best interest of the village, you have that legislative authority and discretion. There's nothing barring you legally from doing this, as I said earlier, and also as, again, the Rockland County Supreme Court decision of October 10, 2024, which is the law, as we sit here today, is that case, held that it's null, void, jurisdictionally invalid. So even if we did not adopt this local law tonight, and Charlie has asked me since I came on board in January, hey Dennis, what do I do if somebody comes in and wants to propose some, construction in the Business B, CBM, zoning district? I told him you have to apply the Business B zoning regulations because the court decision said local law 4 of 2023 is null, void, jurisdictionally invalid.
Under home rule, could we upset that?
Sorry?
Under home rule, could we upset that?
Upset
Meaning
why?
overturn it and just pass our own village under home rule?
You mean the court decision? No, they can only be done through an appeal. As Piermont Developers is prosecuting right now in the appellate division, second department, but it's pending now. It's just waiting for the court to hear the arguments. I'm not sure if they heard them yet, but there's no decision as far as I know. But again, you are within your right to adopt this local law.
And I should also mention that we didn't just refer this to the county planning agency, we also referred this to our own planning board. And if I'm not mistaken, the planning board's recommendation was that we should repeal the law. However, in the future, we should look to see if there are any components of the CBM that might still be useful in a future zoning change. Am I summarizing?
All right, thank you for mentioning that, Mr. Mayor. I overlooked that. Their motion was a favorable recommendation to adopt a local law that you're considering now without any recommended modifications or changes to it as drafted, as you see before you. But they did had a suggestion or a recommendation, if you will, that you consider looking at the CBM zoning district regulations and pull out any elements of it, any provisions that might be beneficial to this Business B zoning district, either as written or as you may modify, but take a look at it and say, hey, this wasn't such a bad idea, maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit. So they did suggest that as well.
I have 2 questions. Assuming we pass local law 5.
By the way, I think Jennifer, I'm sorry, Trustee Gordon, I think Jennifer, you were all provided a copy of the planning board's advisory opinion recommendation.
Yes.
And I think it
She emailed it today.
yes, it says exactly what
Right.
pretty much what I said.
Assuming, I'm taking the leap here, that we pass local law 5, repealing local law 4 of 2023, is it our intention to notify the appellate division of that act and the developers? So we can't come back and say, well, you should have told us and geared up for trial.
Not to be.
As a courtesy.
Not to be cute,
No,
but
it's a courtesy.
I have no objection to anyone doing that. I have no intention of doing that. It was a public hearing, it was published, it was noticed. It's not a secret, this local law that you're considering. Anyone can share it with whomever they wish.
One of the second question I had is one of the things that came up during the extensive comprehensive plan process was that any additional zoning can be worked on, either concurrently with passage of the comprehensive plan or subsequent to passage of the comprehensive plan. I know we're updating the comp plan. Was it the intention of waiting until that's done? Is that what I heard from there? Waiting until that's done before we enter into public hearings and recommendations and zoning changes for the general plan?
That is my intention, if that was the question, yes. I
So-
think that the best process here is, and to differentiate ourselves from how we managed to do this in the past, to have the comp plan committee make their recommendations to the board about updates to the comp plan, have us review that on its own and on its merits, determine what we would like, if we'd like to do anything in the and only then say, the comp plan now has recommendations about changes to zoning, let's pursue development drafts of the zoning changes.
So to Michael's point, there would be an extensive period of time to leave CBN in place if we didn't vote tonight, and wait for additional zoning to take place for the downtown.
Yes, I don't foresee any of that happening in this calendar year. So whether it is leaving CBM on the books but not legal, or taking CBM off the books and making business be the law of the land, it would still be an extended period of time before additional zoning changes might be proposed.
Thank you.
May I ask a question? So Business B, from what Dennis said, Business B is currently the law of the land.
Yes.
E-code has not been updated
Correct.
to reflect the current law of the land, which is Business B. That is what this does. And when the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee comes to us with recommendations, if there will be any updates or changes to the comprehensive plan, there will be another public hearing at that time.
Yes.
Where any of those recommendations will be discussed and the public will have an opportunity to read it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same thing with zoning.
Right, exactly.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, public hearing is closed.
Yeah, public hearing is actually closed.
Should be inappropriate. Legally, procedurally,
Lori's telling me, I'm sorry.
sorry.
All right, so at this point, this is our opportunity to take action after a public hearing. Would someone like to make a motion that we adopt local law number 5 of 2026, amending chapter 210 of the Code of Village of Fairmont, so as to repeal local law number 4 of 2026?
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? One. Okay. All right, so we got through. And now we get on to the next item one. Item number 9, review special permits for funeral parking for Gino Amore, Sidewalk Bistro, and Triportio. And now, before we get into all of the details here, I just want to give a little bit of overview context on this. So the situation is that this year in January, we made the determination that we would reduce our funeral parking inventory to a number of 60. Meaning there would be a total of 60 parking spaces available to be purchased in lieu of having off-street parking. And we've gone through the way that the funeral parking legislation works. Every business is entitled to request 3 by right. And then from 3 to 9, a permit is required, and above 9, a special permit to be reviewed annually is required. And there's no guarantee on those special permits that those spots will be reserved. So in practice, in the past, we have reserved the spots year over year for everyone up to the 9. But in this situation this year, because we reduced the inventory, we don't have enough available spots for everybody that has more than 9 spots. So Charles has been doing a little bit of an analysis here. Members of the board have been provided with a listing of all of the businesses that have some amount of fee in lieu parking, and those of which are requesting more than the 9 which are by permit. So those businesses are the Trevorino is requesting a total of 13 spots, so they are 4 above the 9. And then Sidewalk Bistro is requesting a total of 12 spots, so they are 3 above the 9. And then Vino Amore is requesting a total of 25 spots, so they are 16 above the 9. And it is those 3 businesses that we are here to discuss this evening to try to work out an arrangement where the pain is lessened as much as possible about this change. And
Could you, for anyone who wasn't here earlier in the year, when you described how the number of 60, how you come up with the number of 60, could you reiterate that for everybody?
Yes, okay, so we've been kicking around for many years how much parking is actually available. One of the things that we did last year was we clarified in our funeral parking law that the only spots that are available to be considered for funeral parking are off-street spots. So there's been some confusion where people thought on-street parking should be included in our total inventory of available for funeral parking spaces. We clarified that last year. It's now explicit that these are off-street spots.
I went through the exercise in terms of analyzing what our actual parking needs and use are. One of the blind spots that we have is that there are a number of businesses that have a certain amount of parking use grandfathered in. So they are not required to provide off-street parking because they didn't ever have off-street parking when this legislation was created requiring off-street parking. And what happens because of that is we sort of have this phantom parking usage. So they're not necessarily required to get into the parking spots, but they are using parking, all of our off-street parking inventory, and we know it, we grandfathered in those spots. So what I did back in January to try to come up with a realistic number was go around and do an inventory of spots between the river lot, parking lot D, and lot S that didn't have overnight parking permits sold for them, and also what total number of grandfathered parking spots did we have for existing businesses. And so those numbers came up to, there were about 110 total parking spots, but there were about 50 parking spots that were grandfathered in and not being counted for anywhere. So doing a little simple math, 110 minus 50, we end up with 60 as a total that seems reasonable. We currently have people that have requested up to 76 of those 60 spots. So that's why we need to figure out where we're going from here. That was a little bit more than I had expected because the bakery business at 474 came in 2 meetings ago and requested 3 by right field parking spots in order for them to be able to add some outdoor seating. And we granted that. They were by right spots. We had no basis for saying no to them. So the usage went up a little bit. It had also gone down a little bit from the Euro place going out of business. But the long and short of it is that we end up here today with 53 of those 60 spots being utilized by businesses who don't require a special permit for the quantity of fee and lieu parking spots, and 3 businesses that do require a special permit for a quantity above 9, looking for a total of 23 spaces when only 7 are available. So some of these fee and lieu parking allocations are going to have to be reduced. I took some back of the napkin scribbles at it this afternoon, trying to figure out what made the most sense. I'm not sure that this is a perfect solution, but what I'm looking at is Truckerino is looking for 4 beyond the 9, Sidewalk is looking for 3 beyond the 9, and Amore is looking for 16 beyond the 9. We're not going to be able to get to 16, but I don't feel like the only person that should have a reduction is the person with the most. So I would propose to the board to consider, and I would like to discuss this with representatives from each of these businesses if they're present this evening, offering 2 parking spots, 2 fee and lieu parking spots beyond the 9 by right, for a total of 11 to Truckerino, 2 parking spots beyond the 9 by right to Sidewalk Bistro, and 3 parking spots beyond the 9 by right to Vino Amore, which adds up to 7, and then we come out to our 60. With that, I'm sure some folks have some opinions about that, and I see they moved you right here in the front. If you'd like to come to the microphone and have a conversation about it, if you have any questions or concerns, or not, if you don't.
Could I ask a question before David speaks? So, just for anyone who might not know, the parking lot out by Confetti or behind No Go Joe's, those are private property. Those can't be counted in the fee and lieu parking inventory for the village because they're not owned by the village, they're not public property.
Kate, also behind the community market is also private.
Right, exactly. So I just want to clarify that for anybody who didn't understand in looking at some of these lots, where the numbers come from. Those are
Parking lot D also is private property, forgot.
Right, yes, it is, yes, but there's an agreement for.
I understand.
Yeah, no, I understand, but there is an agreement for that lot, where there's not agreement for the other 2
No.
large lots. But, so, if businesses were to require more parking that is available through this calculation, they could rent parking from someone in the village who has available parking. They could make some type of arrangement, and that is in the code as well, that they can present documentation that they've made an agreement with someone who has private off-street parking that would accommodate their needs.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. One of the ways to get around the zoning requirement for off-street parking on premises is to provide the village with an agreement, a lease agreement with the property owner that has allowed you to use their property as a parking lot for the purposes of the restaurant. So,
That would have to be enforced either with signage or cordon wall, either way. How else do you enforce that?
I mean, I don't think it's up to the village to enforce it.
No, for that, but ultimately it'll be our problem.
So I think we have had situations where, for example, the bank parking lot has been rented out for evening parking for businesses. And there have been some issues with people parking there and going to other businesses. But that's just been, my understanding, left to the business owner and property owner to work out on their own. Anyone else have any other questions? Does anybody have any comment they would like to make?
Actually, I do.
I just want to, one question, all is very abstract.
Name and, state your name.
All is very abstract.
Just for the record, we need your name and name.
My name is Daoud Celestin from South East Sofia. So, looking at what's going on in parking, it's we can say we're parking 13 parking spots, but actually we don't have the parking. Because when my customer cannot park, then we can say whatever we want. It's still a big issue for parking. So, for last Sunday, for Mother's Day, I had 5 people calling me and say, we couldn't find parking, we have to leave. And I'm not the only restaurant who has the same problem. So we all have. It's the parking, just the staff, so all those restaurants, they have the parking spot in general. So, and then that we found a solution to either build a structure or do some people parking at the school and do a little, it's going to be the same issue. On a beautiful day here, you can't find parking. And also, we have the farmers market on Sunday will create more issue because I don't think nobody regulates how many vendors they can have. They can have maybe 20 vendors there or 40 vendors. And all of them take parking spots. So that's also being addressed. So I think that maybe we have to come up with a plan what we're going to do in the future about parking, how we're going to solve that issue.
It's very much one of our biggest issues, and it is one of the reasons why we created the Transportation and Parking Commission to specifically look at these types of issues and make suggestions as to approaches that we might take. I will share, I've been in communication with the operator of the farmers market, and after 2 weeks ago, we had some issues with the vendors parking in unsafe ways and creating problems, and he's brought on additional staff to specifically just work with the vendors at the end of the day during breakdown to ensure that we don't end up with cars parked facing the wrong way up and down Ash Street on private property. It is an issue, it is a traffic impact. From most of the people that I talk to about the farmers market, I get the impression that everyone agrees it's a net positive bringing people into the village who then may peruse one of our restaurants or other businesses, but they do come in their cars and they do park, and the vendors also need to park. So the vendors are now all relocating their vehicles after setup down to parking lot 8 in the morning, and then retrieving them in the afternoon just for loading up their gear and getting it. Whereas they had been just parking around Flywood Park for the whole day, or in the river lot for the whole day, which are convenient locations for people to park in their car and walk in. So we are actively pursuing ways to address this, and one of the ways we're pursuing to address it is to find a more realistic number to use for free and local parking and get ourselves into compliance with that. And I think that although creating new parking would be an excellent thing to add into the village, we have limited places that we could do that or ways that we could do it. So I don't want to make any promises on that side of things. I know it's something we will continue to look into.
Noreen Wright had brought up on behalf of Landon the dangerous situations allowed to occur at the foot of Gare Street for the trucks there to unload and load, unload basically for the restaurants. And that's a two-way street, and that created a hazard. So one of the things that the Traffic and Parking Commission is looking into is maybe adjusting traffic patterns around the village to make them not only safer, but it also would have the possibility of freeing up some additional spots. So it is something that the board and the traffic commission is focusing on, and hopefully it'll be a twofold win. We'll have a new traffic pattern that's safe, and provides an area for safe unloading, and also creates some parking spots. By now making the street one way instead of two ways. So now you have a whole lane of traffic, or close to it, that you could utilize for street parking. Something that we're working on.
Yes, which will need to be reviewed by traffic agents.
Yes, exactly.
Does anyone else like to speak on this topic?
Good evening, Robert Lewis, West Victoria. As you know, we're well aware of the problem with Cottonville parking, but in this instance now, I'm not sure how many seats would be reduced by the parking that this spaces are given up.
You would be reduced from 4 to 2, so not really 4, so from 13 down to 12.
13 to 12, how much seating do we lose?
I'm sorry, 13 down to 11.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry, that's correct.
The seating is 3 seats per vehicle parking spot, so there's a reduction
So
of
it's,
6.
okay, so those are 6, okay. One proposal we thought of is valet parking permitted, so that now we can go to D maybe, and taking up the spaces which are on the street, and that would divert cars from parking on the street, that was street traffic there.
And, well, right, so again, this fuel parking program is specifically for off-street parking. So it's not supposed to be that your fuel parking spots are on-street parking spots that could then be diverted by valet. I love the idea of doing valet, depending on whether or not there's a safe drop-off location. So, for example, up at the traffic at 701, they have a lane where you pull in off the street, not obstructing traffic, and can exchange keys with a valet
Right.
to go move the car. That makes sense at that location, but I'm not sure that you could make the same argument about at the 5-way intersection, because we have an issue with cars stopping there, blocking traffic, just even if they're just running in and picking something up and running out. We've been reviewing that issue with you over the last few months, and I know it's something that you're aware of in terms of safety parking on Gare Street, and also in terms of the availability of parking in the vicinity. So there has been discussion in the past. It would be great if we had like a very vibrant and functional chamber of commerce, because I have seen examples in other communities where a chamber of commerce will organize a series of businesses to deal with a shuttle bus kind of a situation like that. Like, it's not exactly valet parking, but we have a remote parking lot that we can use and then move people back and forth from, and do it as some kind of organized thing for all of the businesses. I'm not aware of any conversation with our Chamber of Commerce of having something like that happen, so if you'd like to try to pursue that angle, I don't see a lot of downside to it if you can get people on board.
Okay, just for the record, given the numbers that we just discussed, my client would be amenable to forfeiting 2 spaces.
Excellent, thank you.
That way, we can help you get down to where you need to be.
Thank you.
Yes, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening, Bob Hay from Maine Memorial, so just to understand, like you said, we requested, we would issue those amount of spots based on our capacity. So I guess by reducing it, we're obviously reducing my capacity.
Yes, as
Okay.
the previous gentleman asked, so the seating capacity is tied to 3 seats per parking spot.
Okay, so what are you telling me I would wind up with now?
You are going to end up with 9 plus 3, 12 parking spots.
So it's 36 people. So basically you're telling me I'm out of business. I mean, honestly,
No, I understand, and as we had discussed previously, there are other options besides just relying entirely on fee-in-lieu parking. Your business is unique in that it is the only business that has fee-in-lieu parking that doesn't have any accommodation for off-street parking or grandfathering and stuff.
well, that's not true. I have parking spots in the back for my staff.
Well, so those parking spots, according to the property owner and the owner of the bakery business, 8 of those spots were dedicated to their space in order to provide off-street parking, and that was what all of their original seating was based on. They
Well,
recently
I'll
requested-
I'll want to speak to him about that, okay.
Well, and that's fair, you can take that up with him.
Yeah.
That is an example of a situation where if you could obtain some of those actual off-street parking spaces, we can give you credit in terms of capacity for them. But we need to have documentation that you have legally secured access to them for your customers, your staff, whatever it might be.
So what's my alternative here?
There may be other areas in the village that you could make an arrangement with the private property owner to find some parking spots that could be treated as your off-street parking.
And again, this is only, I mean, my restaurant, I only see 26 seats. So from November through April. So my problem really is just the few summer months.
Understood, and that may actually mean that you could find a property owner that would be more flexible with renting something for a short period of time rather than all winter. I mean, what is your current seating capacity?
Well, we were completely full, about 74.
So that would be all 25 of the.
Interior and front and patio.
Sure. So.
Which really doesn't happen simultaneously. I wish it did, but obviously, that doesn't happen simultaneously.
Well, and it's an excellent space out back, and it's a great space in the front too, so I understand wanting to utilize those, in the warmer months where that's possible. But in terms of the way that the law is structured, in terms of being the parking law, the inventory of all of the spots beyond 9 is not guaranteed year to year, it will be reviewed on an annual basis. So, when we're looking at, I had expected to be a few more available, because I didn't expect that the bakery would ask for some communal parking. Said they had all they needed, because they didn't get what but since they have, it's a few less that would be available for you. And when we initially were applying for these spots, if you had reviewed what the communal parking said, I mean, I was very surprised, I'll put it this way, when the owner or person that was going to open up previous to District 96, when they came in and said, we wanted 25 vehicle parking spots. Because the law is very explicit that there is no year-over-year guarantee on those spots, and if other people come in first and have priority or permit requests, you can lose them. And so it seemed to me to be risky at the time that you didn't have a concern about that, and then you ended up inheriting what had been allocated for them. But at nowhere along the line was there a guarantee that this would be durable year over year. And so I understand it's a bit of a crunch, you got some time to scramble. This is why we announced this reduction in inventory back in January, but didn't look to start enforcing it until the beginning of the next fiscal year, was to give folks 6 months to try to kick around ideas about what other arrangements could be made.
So physically, when is your fiscal year?
Fiscal year begins June 1st.
So next week.
Yes.
All right. I mean, you're basically going to put me out of business. There's nothing I can do. I mean, obviously everybody in this town has the same problem, so nobody knows of others. Like you're saying, there's other space available. Where is it?
There may be, I don't have.
There's not. It's not maybe, there's not. If there was, there's what problem would be existing. So, I mean, I was issued a CO based on my capacity, I was issued a health inspection based on my capacity. And now he's telling me that I gotta reduce my capacity because of parking spots. It just doesn't make sense. Especially when you have restaurants 5 times the size of me that aren't even contributing to it at all. I know for a fact that I was at 420 covers on Saturday. I had 4 reservations canceled because nobody could find parking, they actually left.
Well, and that goes to the heart of the matter, is that whether or not you are assigning these parking spots.
But by a small restaurant, like I wasn't full Sunday either, so it's not like I was using all my spots. So, if by taking away from me, you're just gonna give somebody else more spots, that's not utilizing what they do anyway.
No, and I can assure you that it is our prerogative this year, the reason we're going through this exercise, we haven't reviewed these special permits for communal parking or other types of special permits in several years. My goal for this year is for us to get everybody up to speed with current agreements that are in compliance with zoning law. So, we are not intending to single you out in any way. There are other businesses that are going to be impacted by this enforcement of the zoning code. And hopefully, once we are doing proper enforcement of the zoning code, there will be parking available for your customers to not have to call you and say they have to go home because they're good fun spots.
So what customers doing like something they can't say? I mean, it's bizarre.
I mean, I don't wanna try to micromanage how you run your business. All I can say is that the amount of parking that you are allocated is the determining factor in the number of seats you can have concurrently in the restaurant during operation. Whether or not somebody says, when we put a couple of tables together, and there's a few extra bodies in there, I don't think that we're enforcing down to that level of granularity. But yeah, I don't want to tell you that correctly.
So right now, my capacity is 36 people for all spaces.
Yes.
Can I just ask something or mention something? So this fee and load parking law is not new. It was passed in 2011, and it was amended in 2015. So I think what the hope is here is to try to just get everyone in line with the special permits required under that law so that all these businesses can operate and thrive. But I think, you know, just so everyone understands, we're not changing the law, we're not recommending that we change the law, we're just trying to get the need capacity in line with the actual available parking in the village, because it is a limited amount of parking. But there are some property owners, like the property owner out by Confetti or Novo Joe's, that does possess parking lots. I don't know if all of their tenants are using all of their parking, or if they have available parking that they could lease to another business. I don't know, but it's, if I was in your situation, I would make a call and ask the question. But I think some of the other things like that you mentioned about, you know, maybe a shuttle bus, right? There is some parking up by, you know, Tappan Zee Elementary School, where hopefully everybody went to vote today in the school board election. You know, there's some parking up there. Maybe if we get creative, if anybody saw online that, you know, Nyack was able to get a grant for a kind of go-kart like shuttle to shuttle people around the village of Nyack, because they also have a parking problem. So we all need to put our heads together and figure out, and like Kate said, if the Chamber of Commerce could get together and organize a shuttle to bring people maybe from Tappan Zee Elementary into town on a rotation, and everybody pays for that shuttle, you know, every weekend when it's really busy.
So we're reducing capacity, we're paying you for parking, now
We're
we're
not
going to
reducing capacity, we're just telling everybody the truth about what capacity is. I mean, that's.
But how was I issued a CO then without that? Because parking didn't come into effect until almost a year after it was open.
I mean, I can't explain what series of events led to that. All I know is that when we started this legislation, we originally started with an inventory of less than half of what we're working with right now at 60. I'm still unclear on if 60 is a small enough number for us to reasonably guarantee that the spots that we're selling you are available for your customers. And so, I mean, that's part of what we're factoring in here, is that I can't in good conscience say, yeah, there's definitely 25 spots available for you if there really isn't in the village. And then, you know, I'm taking your money, but not giving you anything in exchange. So there's that aspect of it also to consider. But I would encourage you to try to do a little networking in the village, see if there's anybody who can make an arrangement to secure a few additional spots. And it seems like this is only going to be an impact for you seasonal, because in the winter you have less.
Yeah, well, the problem is,
Nobody makes any money.
nobody makes any money in the winter. So,
Yes, but I would also say that, you know, part of this inventory number is also all the residents who live here who don't have allocated parking, who buy parking permits from the village as well, and need a place to park their car when they come home. And, you know, I've heard those stories as well, where people have told me that they get home on a Saturday night and they have to park 2 miles away from home, despite the fact that they have a permit for near the post office, which is very near their home.
but you're in a town that's rated that. You have business here.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that, but I'm saying that's part of the equation as well, is how many people, you know, live here that need a place to park as well.
And Kate, they also pay parking.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's okay.
In the lot by the firehouse, there are 3 spaces for every resident. Now, I'm lucky, I got Phil Griffin, I park on his property. They pay to park there, 3 spots. Do you know how many rentals there are here? It's, I'm the only one that lives in the middle of town. You guys don't. I see what goes on. The restaurateurs park on the pick you up, I'll drive you home. The owners, some owners and their staff park all along Piermont Avenue, I pictures through. And then I see people, they circle 3 times and then.
Marcy, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but we are doing minutes here, and if you're not at the microphone, we can't hear a single thing that you're saying. So I appreciate and agree with much of what you're saying, but it's not gonna make it into the minutes unless we're recognizing you at the podium. So, is there, and listen, feel free to reach out, I'm happy to discuss this with you, work with you if there's a way that we can try to find some available parking that can be allocated.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Marcy, would you like what, Hank?
No.
Hank's got something to say.
Yeah, it's Hank Worker from the community market across the street. I'm kind of in an awkward position here because my argument is completely different from the previous people up here. But tonight I did hear 3 out of the 5 board members say that signage should suffice for additional parking.
Well, no, one of
I
my
don't
points.
believe you heard that from anyone.
I heard, no, Jeff Gordon said, well, that would provide that would mean signage to
Then
enforce
signage
that.
according to Norfolk area work, and then I raised the issue, how do you enforce that? Because you'll have people who are parking.
Oh, I enforce it every day.
Or valet parking in residence.
The valet parking in the village of Piermont does not work, because what happens in the village of Piermont is if I provide valet parking, my customers only use that valet parking when they can't find the parking that the slot people are paying for. So they're granted seating or occupancy based on a valet, and it just, you know, I've gone by one restaurant that had a very good day one day, and it was 8 cars in the parking lot. You know, so they do not utilize valet. I had an agreement with Mr. Griffin for 7 spaces. Everybody sitting behind that desk knows that Mr. Griffin does not give written agreements. But somehow the village found it ethical to go and talk to both Mr. Griffin and his son to find out if, did you really give Hank permission to use those parking spaces? Which I have to question the ethical of that move. You know, you're going behind my back to undermine an agreement that I have with a businessman in the village.
But I don't believe you've ever produced a written agreement.
I absolutely am not. And I would venture to say if I foiled written agreements for previous arrangements, I'd probably come up with, at best, 50%. So, you know, again, this selective enforcement that I'm seeing in the village is somewhat skeptical on my part. You know,
And as I will mention to you, as I mentioned to the previous gentleman, it is our intention this year to make sure that everything is being enforced.
no, I get that, and as, again, everybody behind that desk is fully aware of, the market was tardy in their payment of the flop money intentionally, because I wanted to be summoned to the principal's office, and I never got that. I did ask for a meeting with everybody here, because when I first got to this village in 2018, I was informed that the market had 0 grandfathered spaces. So any seating I wanted to put in there, I had to pay for it, which at the time I didn't have a real issue with because my seating capacity was minimal at best. I believe I recognized Mr. Wright, Nate, and Mr. Bloomquist as members of that board at the time. And Mr. Bloomquist, I came for 7 spots, and he, thankfully now, recommended for me to take the 9 because they were available. I only wanted 7, but he said, no, take the 9, they're here because they might disappear and you'll never get them again.
Right.
So I took the 9, thankfully. Thank you. But now, for at least the past 4 years, I paid the village for something that I didn't need to pay them for because I could provide what I had on my own.
Well, and we've discussed this before, but I'll take exception to that characterization here in public, which is that once you converted from being a deli/restaurant into having a bar, you have had more seats in there than your funeral parking or any of those other combinations.
No, that's not true. And again, I'm not gonna basically argue that because the way I look at it, it's got 7 spots from Phil Griffin with signage. I've got,
Do you think it's unreasonable for the village to require a written documentation of an agreement?
well, the law, not the zoning law, the law states that I have to provide an agreement that's acceptable to the board. It says nothing in there about a contract, nothing.
An agreement in writing that is acceptable to the board?
It doesn't say
It
right.
says evidentiary proof.
I mean, we're not gonna take an
Evidentiary
affidavit.
proof is the phrase. Evidentiary proof must be satisfactory to the village board of trustees of the lease or rental of the off-site, off-street parking space.
I mean,
Hence signs that say if you park here, you're getting towed.
and I just don't accept that putting up a sign on private property is the same thing as documenting an agreement with the property owner that reserves that.
Well, yeah, but we are getting slightly off topic because,
And over time as well.
I didn't know there was a 3-minute limit on me. I didn't have a liquor license until May of 2021. So there's no way, no how I exceeded my 27 seats prior to May of 2021. And I paid for that parking that I shouldn't have. And again, the village, the 5 years are gonna roll your eyes at me, and I get it. In my opinion, as a businessman, the village knowingly, willingly misled me to believe I had no parking. Because they wanted, I can say this because he's not behind that seat anymore. There was one particular man that made a promise that he was gonna bring back their community market. He actively recruited me to do such, and 8 years later, I'm gonna say foolishly did. I did what was asked of me. I only changed venues when I realized that, you know what, when the community market was a viable business, there was no Peapod, there was no Fresh Direct, there was no Whole Foods, you couldn't go to 15 different markets in 5 miles of Piermont, that now you can. And when I tried to run it as a market, people tell me, you want how much for that? I can get it at, such and such for half that, which at the end became frustrating that I said, of course you can.
And listen, I understand that you're frustrated that for the first couple of years of operation, you were paying for vehicle parking, that in hindsight, perhaps you did not require, and there were other means. But those budgets are in the past. I can't pay back some.
No, I don't want you to write me a check, I want credit.
And I can't
And
pay the credit.
I don't believe asking for credit is unreasonable.
I think it is unreasonable. I think the situation is that with these funeral
Could we
parties.
get a show of hands who thinks that's unreasonable?
Well, Dennis, is it legal? Would it be legal for us to credit?
Legal, I am foregoing, again, the business plan that I would have came forward with, I would have looked more like Otto's than the market if I knew I had grandfathered spaces. And my not paying or being tardy in my payment was threefold. One, the village does nothing to protect us from filming crews. Last year alone, 2 filming crews, one of which promised me I was getting paid and never lived up to it. One that just told me to go scratch. Cost me 4 times my parking fees.
Hey, excuse me, I have to cut you off because we were here to discuss an item that was about several other people's special permits. You don't even require a special permit. Would give me an opportunity to share some of your concerns here, but I have another agenda item that's gonna be time consuming we have to move on to. So I would just like to leave off with, would you concede that a year ago today, you had more seats than you had parking spots for in your establishment?
In hindsight, no.
In hindsight, you wouldn't see it?
Not now that I know that I have 10. Right. You've agreed to 10. I have a CO in my possession that's for 113 as a market. I understand that that's 50, let's say 56 and a half for a restaurant. So my calculations is way more than 10, but I'm not trying to argue that. I'm trying to get the village to acknowledge that they took something from me that they had no right to pay.
And that's just not what we're here to discuss tonight. So I'd be happy to discuss that with you additionally offline.
I've asked for that for quite some time now, Nate.
Yeah,
And
we've had a number of discussions where I disagree profoundly on the fact that if we wanted to play it a different way, instead of work with you and work this out, we could have just said, you're in violation of zoning code, is that you're seeking, if you give you a violation. We never did that. So,
Which again, if you go to Mr. Michaels here, telling me that I seated over my capacity, show me that violation.
I'm saying,
You
we
know what I
never
mean?
did that.
I know you did, and because I never was, not that I never was, but the majority of the time I was not. But again, it goes from, my argument is, didn't have to pay, filming that you're selling the same parking space to the filming crew that we're paying for, the flop people are paying for, and we have another restaurant in town that seats well over 300 people and don't pay a single one.
And as I have said previously.
So if he's not paying, why should any of us be paying?
This year, we are going to get everyone in conformance with the zoning laws. That includes you, but it includes everyone else too. And we're not looking to single anybody out. We want the same rules to apply to everyone. So if your concern is that is not currently the case, please let us continue pursuing our steps to make sure that the zoning laws are enforced equally for everyone. But please, you overtake it now. Thank you. Does anyone else have any comment on this rather contentious subject? Feel like I have.
I'm just gonna, and I'm gonna ask you directly. You've been here as long as, well, much longer, but you are Super Only 490 Piermont Avenue, Piermont, New York, 10968. Do you think that having a Chamber of Commerce would help?
I mean, I would like to say yes. We've had one in the past, and it hasn't worked out perfectly. I don't know exactly why.
No, there's a dollar, though. When I had my place, we did a lot of things, but everybody worked together. Do you think that would help all the businesses, not just the restaurants, but everybody?
I can't imagine how it would hurt. I think somebody needs to take ownership of trying to make that happen.
I'll go to each place, because it did work years ago.
That would be great.
And, you know,
Well, I've spoken to a bunch of businesses that are just looking who's tired. and
well,
wasn't-
he ran it for a
No,
long
no,
time.
wasn't getting a lot of
But
cooperation.
that's my point.
No.
It was, when I did it, I was lucky. Dell might remember, you know, I had Peter Kelly, Ned Kelly, I had Phil and Marjorie Griffin, and I had Luann Henderson, so there was no going wrong.
I've spoken to Joe, over and over Joe, you know, and he's interested. I hope Hank, he's still here.
No, Hank would,
No, this is a common issue that is extremely important, obviously, to all of the businesses. There's mostly bars and restaurants who are serving at night, and they need the parking spaces at night, all at one time. So this is something that should reinvigorate the Chamber of Commerce.
well, I think if everybody would work together, but I will make an effort to do that, because back in the day, not only, I mean, we had what is Bunbury now wasn't then, but to try, parking has always been an issue. I opened Cafe Portofino in 1992. You know, it's down the road, we had a little lot, and like I said, don't, you live across, don't drive your car to work. But the parking is also impeded by the restaurateurs that, and there's one in particular, that's parking the street from 10 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. Riley's is guilty of it. Like like I said, you guys are more than welcome to come up any Saturday night and watch what goes on. Another restaurant taking, the driver goes out, puts cones down. And so, but I'll make an effort to do that, because they're all good people, and nobody should lose their business, so, you know, and I know that's not what you guys want,
No.
you know, but please, don't open any more restaurants. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And was there one other?
Good evening, Mayor and Board. Nina Skarmonski. So, Kate, you brought up that 2011 was when the flag was changed or put in place? Adopted. And amended in 2015. So 10 years later, we had 13 restaurants last year, one of which is, as we hear, 300 seats. Is there any consideration for, I don't know, what jurisdiction, a moratorium or some sort of pause on 300-seat restaurants and the types of eateries that appear, because we clearly can't handle it?
Well, so I'm not sure that we can enforce a moratorium on a particular by-road use, but we can enforce the portions of our zoning code that require off-street parking for restaurants even. And that's exactly what we're talking about tonight. And so, as I've said several times now, the intention is that after we get through the season, everyone will be in compliance with the code. If someone comes in and looks at the prospect of opening up a new restaurant in town, and they have no off-street parking available, and there is no vehicle parking available, I would assume that would be a deterrent for them trying to open up that restaurant with those limitations. I mean, we can't make the business decisions for them, but if the issue is you can't have any seating because you don't have any parking, I can't see how you make a pitch for a successful business plan that way.
Yeah, because many of these were not. Trattoria was a spa. Market was a market. So when we start to get into 113 seats and 300, my question was, and I thought to bring up, is there any consideration? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Could I just make a 30-second comment, Nate?
Please, 30 seconds.
One of the simplest fixes for the village is to increase the enforcement time from 6 o'clock to either 8 or 9 o'clock on Paramount Avenue.
Which is one.
Because what is happening is, doesn't happen for my establishment, but what is happening is owners, employees, if they pull up at 4:30, they park there, they can park there till 12 o'clock at night and they go home.
Yes, and this is
if they,
recreation parking we're looking at, and also one of the things, just so you know, the police put in their budget for this year twice as many paper tickets as last year.
if you increase to 8 or 9 o'clock, now the employee or the owner is going to get a ticket, and rightfully so. Because they're cutting their own throats.
Yep, and that's something we're gonna try to figure out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we've been through all of that. We have item 10, review special permit for Trotta on the river, and I believe we have representatives from Trotta here there.
Is this just an informal right now?
This is just informal, we just want to review it by everybody. And then Charlie will follow up with those.
Council, this is the owner of Trotta.
Did you invite them up?
Yes, please. So just to give you guys some background context on this, you may be familiar with this, you may not. Over the course of the last year or so, we have received a number of complaints, both in the form of noise complaints made to the police department and complaints made to the building department about your operation not meeting the terms of the special permit that you're operating under. And so are you both, do you have a copy of the special permit that you're operating under that was dated?
We should give their names.
Yes, please, give your names. But then, do you have a copy?
I do not have a copy.
Just for the record, Council, give your comment.
Okay, my name is Russell Anderson of Bertone Pacini, Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, Council for Troutman River. Thank you.
Just for the record, I'm handing Council for Troutman River a copy of the July 30, 2015 Village of Piermont Board of Trustees minutes, which includes the approval of the issuance of a special permit application of Dennis Witten for 701 Piermont Avenue. And my client has a copy as well.
Excellent, thank you, Dennis. So our concerns are that this agreement, this special permit agreement, is very specific about some particular impacts that need to be mitigated by the operator of the business. And another one of the types of complaints that we received, this was also through the police, issues with parking, blocking off the sidewalk. We've had issues with restricting access to be able to get to the fireboat in emergency situations. That was not specifically addressed. But the main one at this point, I think, is the question of the total amount of seating and the issue of noise that is audible off of the premises. So this permit allows for background level noise to be played out.
Background music.
Background music, yes, I'm sorry. Rather than amplified or live performances. And we have been informed, although I have not independently confirmed the veracity of this, that your business currently advertises a seating capacity of 350 and live DJ events out on the deck. The deck being not enclosed, or even sometimes when the doors are open to the interior areas that there's loud music playing inside, that is audible beyond the edge of the property. And we have a number of documented complaints about that, and now we find ourselves in a situation of needing to enforce that or take action ourselves. So the first question really is just, upon reading this, which I'm a little surprised that you are not familiar with.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so is there anything in this that you're
Can I
unable to?
give a little history too?
Sure.
So when we took over the property, it was in, some people think it was in shambles, I thought it was in shambles. There was noise complaints then, there was situations with parking then. We addressed every single thing with the town. We brought in a sound engineer, we faced the speakers towards the water, we did everything. The DJ is not amplified outside, it's amplified inside, okay? There's a DJ inside the premises, not on the deck like you guys are saying. But it's so odd that, to me, because when I bought the restaurant and I used to come here, there used to be live bands till 10, 11 o'clock on the deck, and some board members and previous board members of the historical or here used to be on those bands playing. So now that I took over and it's a successful business, I feel like it's being targeted. On top of it, I took the parking situation. There was twice that we had. First of all, we haven't been cited once about a noise complaint. I have a decimal reader. I am within code of the decimal that the town here has. I have recorded decimal readings for the last 4 months, and I'm willing to hold it in front of people's houses that are saying. And I've been through this before with Southampton, that I have restaurants and stuff. There is a decimal reading. That's why it's a state. On top of it, I wanted to be a good neighbor. My liquor license is till 4 a.m. Every New York State liquor license is 4 a.m. I close 12 o'clock sharp on the dot. The last call happens at 11:30. We get everybody out at 12. So I don't know what else I can do. I'm way below the decimal reading that the town has.
I mean, according to my reading of this agreement, it says must not be audible off of the premises.
Yeah,
Correct.
Just grammatical correction, Mr. Mayor. It's not an agreement. This is a binding resolution adopted by the Village Board of Trustees on July 30, 2015. This is not an agreement between the then business owner, Dennis Witten, and the Village Board of Trustees. It's a resolution approving of a special permit for a restaurant marina at 701 Piermont Avenue, and it has a list of conditions as part of that special permit. And to answer your question, if you go to page 14 of 24, just for the record, this is a portion of the Village Board of Trustees minutes of their meeting in July 30, 2015. So that's why it says 24 pages. This is just a portion of those 24 pages of minutes, which had other matters as part of those minutes. So this resolution is on pages 11 through 14 of 24. And pertinent to this conversation is the top of page 14. It Says the following conditions specifically related to noise are imposed on the grant of the special permit. 1, no live music shall be played on the outside of the premises, whether on the deck, the riverfront area, or any other exterior portion of the premises. 2, amplified music shall not be audible past the property line at any time. 3, all windows and doors to the premises must be closed when music is being played inside the premises. And there are other conditions as well, but those are the ones having to do with the music.
But,
Thank you.
well, there's other restaurants in town that are doing, and I'm not here to point fingers at other restaurants, because that's not me, that's not my style. But there's live bands here in some restaurants, and you can hear it. I have a decimal meter, I am within the state code, within your local code of property line noise. You know, what Mr. Dennis Michael says. And I have from your bylaws, the maximum sound levels, I am within reach. That's why I haven't been cited once from police of this town. Just because some neighbors that bought into the town, they bought into the town knowing that since 1920, there's been a restaurant there, there used to be a Ferris wheel there, there used to be everything. So you're buying next to a restaurant, and you're lucky I close at 12, so you want me to stay inside till 4 a.m.? I'm closed till 4 a.m. It's
Actually, what I'm asking you is just if you can comply with these stipulations.
I am complying, and I will comply, and I am complying, but to be sectioned out by myself tonight, when I have parking, I went and rented the Knights of Columbus old spot. It cost me so much money more, you know, and this winter was very rough for us, all of us here in town, right? So I was paying for nothing there, right? So I paid, so I won't have any problems with the town. I try to beautify, I brought a sound engineer, and if you come, whoever wants to come, 9:30 is our peak time. I'll be more than glad to sit on anybody's property line with a certified demo reader, and you can read it. And I have codes, and I have a certified New York State decimal reader company that did it for us too. So I'll be more than glad to serve it. But if you're picking on me, and you're sending cops all the time, and the cops find me that I have nothing,
So it's not that
our
we're
point is
sending
become a
cops.
nuisance.
It's not that we're sending cops all the time, it's that there are that many complaints coming in. Our police are not responding.
It's from the same 3 houses. The same 3 houses call, because I foiled everything. So I know it's the first same 3 houses that call. That's harassment. When the local police or everybody says that there is no complaint, and you keep on getting the same people, and you keep on getting the same people calling, at some point, there's a problem here, right? There's
I mean, the
lights.
problem could be that what they're complaining about is valid.
Oh, valid? So then why wouldn't I get a ticket?
I'm not trying to explain what enforcement could or could not.
So
have
3
happened.
people decide for the whole town for the business.
I'm asking if you can make your business operate within the stipulations
I
of this
thought I was.
special permit.
I thought I was.
I mean, no live music played outside the premises.
I never played live music. The only live music that I ever was played since I owned the restaurant was during the Piermont Historical Society, that they knew the rules, and this presidents and mayors were sitting on the board here, and they played even yesterday a live band that they had the Piermont Historical Society. So if that's the rule, then I'm misguided, so it's a double face. Whenever we want it, we can play outside because it's the Historical Society, but you can't play when it's your business. But I never have a live band outside. My DJ is inside, and never a live band outside.
The focus to me doesn't, it's not something that we should be looking at, whether it's amplified, non-amplified, inside, outside. The special permit under which you're operating is very clear. Outside the confines of the walls of your establishment, we shouldn't be hearing any music. Period.
So everybody has speakers outside, so why am I being picked out? Cornetta's has speakers outside, I don't see them here. Cornetta's has TVs outside. You want me to go down the list? Everybody has speakers outside.
Everybody that has speakers outside.
So when everybody complies, we will comply altogether.
Well, okay, so everyone else is complying, and the reason why you're here tonight is because of the complaints we've received.
It's the same 3 houses.
It doesn't matter if it's one house, if you're not compliant with the village code.
My client has testified he's compliant, period. There is supposed to be a finding from the building inspector if this permit is not going to be extended. He has not made such a finding. There's never been any sort of summons issued or anything, nothing. And Mr. Michaels, if I heard correctly, somebody was telling me that this, or somebody said this was an informal hearing as to this?
The intention of this conversation this evening is to make the request that you make every effort to comply with the conditions of the special permit prior to the building department taking any action. This is to give you an opportunity to fix anything that may need to be fixed before we take it to that level.
We're
But
nowhere
that
near,
requires a-
we're nowhere near even the idea of yanking the special permit. We brought you in here informally because we've got numerous complaints, not one, not two. I've got a 6-page complaint, this is only one.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gordon, I don't mean to interrupt you, but
Sure.
the reality of the situation is if there have been complaints, then there should have been a citation related to those complaints, or at least notice of the complaints. My client has no notice of any of these complaints.
Your client just testified that you foiled and knows the identities of all the people who made the complaints. That contradicts.
They're the people that keep on.
They're the people who keep on calling.
Okay, but you just
So
said
if there's no
you had
formal,
awareness.
there's no formal complaint that's being served upon my client.
Okay.
So,
So again, the
This,
question is.
this is a clear notice problem, and if we're having an informal discussion, that's fine, but then telling him that he's violating something that he clearly has said that he's not violating.
Regardless of whether he said he's not violating it or not,
Well, then,
if all windows and doors to the premises must be kept closed when music is being played inside the premises, and yet the partition walls are all left open so that in fact the windows and doors are not closed, that would seem to me to be a violation of one of these stipulations. I agree that he said he's not a violation. The reason I asked to present him with the document itself was to be able to look at the words that he says he's complying with. It
Is-
doesn't seem to us that this is compliance.
is there some sort of showing or evidence or anything that those windows and doors are
But
open?
we're not in court now, and we may very well end up there. This is a courtesy, an invitation for you
This
to
doesn't
comply.
feel like an
But
invitation
if
for a
you
purpose.
would prefer that justice court summonses be issued for violations of the special permit of July 30, 2015. By the way, it's supposed to be renewed annually. I don't think it's been renewed at all.
Ever.
I mean, there is a various provisions of code violations that your client can be prosecuted for. If that's the path that we need to go down, we will go down that path. You are invited here to let you know that there's been many complaints and to give you an opportunity to be aware of it, because apparently your client was aware of it under a FOIL request, but now we're saying he's not aware of it. But the point is,
And they find you no wrong.
if you don't want to cooperate with the village, just tell us now, and we'll take the next enforcement step, and we can end this conversation
Mr.
tonight.
Michaels, we have no intention of thumbing our nose at the Board of Trustees or anyone else. If there are situations where there is a violation, then all it had to be done was brought to Tim's attention. That's it. But that didn't happen at all. And on top of
Can't answer for the police or for the building department.
And on top of that,
And according to tonight, but we are in fact informing you of it tonight, and you are in receipt of that copy of the special permit will.
but look, we can have all the talk about complaints and everything else, but you have to point to a provision in that ordinance, in that resolution, that is being violated. And
All
right
windows
now,
and doors
we
to the
can't do it.
premises, all windows and doors to the premises.
You have absolutely you have no showing of
We're
that.
not in a court of law now, we're not presenting
how
a
is he supposed to-
prosecutorial case
How
now.
is he supposed to
We
fix
can do
something?
that in the Piermont
Mr.
Justice
By
Court,
closing the windows
if
and
and when the time comes. You were invited here with your client to discuss this and to make you now aware of it, which you are now. The next conversation might be in front of the Piermont Village Justice Court,
Mr.
if that's
Michael,
what you wish.
Again, I'm inviting a conversation.
This is not a conversation.
But you can't
You're
say
asking
that.
us to present proof beyond a reasonable doubt in admissible form.
I'm not
We're
asking.
not in court.
I'm not asking for evidence of admissible form. I'm asking for a showing of something that some part of that ordinance is being violated.
Well,
You are saying to me, and I don't mean to interrupt, you're saying to me and to my client that there's a noise complaint. What's he supposed to do? What's he supposed to do?
And I'm within the state laws and
State law is
and
not
laws,
applicable.
and
You're
your
in-
noise
You're in
complaint.
violation of our village code, chapter 134, and more importantly, and
What
much more
violation?
clearly,
I never
you're
got that.
allegedly in violation of the July 30, 2015 special use permit, which you've been riding on for the past 11 years, which has not been renewed. It was supposed to have been renewed, your predecessors did not renew it, and now you're in a position where you have not yet renewed it. It's supposed to be renewed annually. So you've been riding on this July 30, 2015 special permit, and allegedly, from several sources that you have copies of these complaints, you are in violation of at least 2 of these provisions, maybe 3. at
Because
least.
the special sources said
Again, we're not in court, I'm not
Just
just
assuming who's patrolling, who do I answer? So if a neighbor writes a letter to you guys, all of a sudden it's law? Don't you have police? Police came in 21 times. I have now 1 citation.
You know what, if you could stand there and honestly look at this court and tell us that in a warm weather, you spent an awful lot of money in that place, you did a beautiful job,
It's
it's
not
one of
enough
my
in this
favorite
town.
restaurants.
It's not enough
But
in
if
this
you could
town.
stand there and look at us and tell us, there are no windows and doors opening in this weather on that deck that you spent a fortune on, okay, that allows music to travel outside the confines of that building, then I don't know what else to tell you.
And if I'm asking for the same treatment, if you're telling me in this town on Saturday or Sunday, if there's no open windows when people are amplifying music or bands, then you'd be lying to me too.
I can only tell you, if we get a complaint,
Oh, so you got a complaint.
If
So we
we
have to
get-
rat on each other? Is that what it
should
is?
we go to every restaurant and bar in this village and plant a cop there every night and just make
Sure,
an announcement with a
it seems
decibel
like-
reader? And your special permit is very particular. It's unlike anybody else that has an operation in the village. Yours is very specific, it's specific for a very important reason, back in 2015.
So if I was told that I had to renew the special permit, I would renew it. I never violated 1 law in this town.
That's fine, we want to move forward.
So,
We wanna
obviously,
move
I've been
forward.
accused that I never submitted, and I've been riding on the coattails of the town, which I don't.
Excuse me, this conversation started with me asking if you could conform to these stipulations of the special
I
permit,
could.
which you weren't.
I could.
And that's what we are asking you to do, nothing more than that. If you fail to do that in a timely manner, the building department will follow up on that. Please review this document and all of the stipulations that you are currently operating under, and please advise us if there is something that you are not able to accommodate that we might review. Other than that, I don't think there's anything more to discuss this evening, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
I have one procedural question for Mr. Michaels. Mr. Michaels, ordinance 21076B specifically says that this permit shall be
We can't
renewed.
hear back here, can you please?
My apologies, thank you so much. 21076B says that such permit shall be renewed unless there is a finding from the building inspector.
Again, we are not.
Mr., just 1 second. I'm not suggesting that Mr. Building Inspector has to come out. I'm specifically addressing the issue about that this permit hasn't been renewed. It doesn't require activity by him.
No, we have an opportunity to review it on an annual basis.
Of course.
And the
So,
purpose of that annual
holding it-
review is if there are complaints and issues that need to be addressed, that's our opportunity.
I don't disagree with you. The assertion was that Mr. Tim did not make any action to renew it. That's not what's required.
And
I just want to make that clear.
I don't think that, I appreciate that. I don't think we're interested in arguing that right now. That's not the issue.
Okay.
The issue is, can we comply with these stipulations of the special permit agreement? And if we do comply with that, I think the complaints will probably go away. Because most of the complaints refer to issues that are specifically addressed in those stipulations.
Then my client will comply.
Thank you.
That's all we're
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, as that was our last particular item, the review cybersecurity.
I could provide some feedback based on what we just talked
You
about.
need to step up to the microphone.
Yeah, we need to get you into the minutes there. What's your name and address, please?
It's Peter Kuiper. I'm at 696 Piermont, which is across the street from Trotta, what used to be 701. I'd like to start off on I'd like to start off on a positive. Tim, you're doing 100 times better than the previous owner, Dennis Whitman. And don't build your case on, well, Dennis Whitman did it, so why can't I? When Dennis Whitman was running the restaurant, there was 20 people in this room, all complaining about all the noise he was making. He was hiring leaf blowers at 2 a.m. in the morning to irritate everybody, and it took probably about 2 to 3 years to finally update the special permits, and finally in the last 2 years he owned the place, he finally quieted down. So to try, again, you're 10, 100 times better than the previous owner. I think improvements can be made. We live across the street. We do hear music. It's, again, not as loud as it had been in the past, but we do hear. The peak time for that is not 9 a.m. It's typically 11. When you first open up the restaurant, the music literally would die out at 11:10 because of the zoning ordinance, the sound ordinance for zoning. Said it wrong. Anyway, you can't have any more music to help the entire town get out after 11 p.m. The reason your situation is different than all the other businesses, most of them are in the business district. You are in a residential zone, so that's why you have that special permit that has a lot more, you're more confined than all the other people. So yes, there's definitely a way to run your business that does not irritate and get complaints. Personally, for us living across the street, it's less so in music, but it's more your clientele that leaves at 11, and even probably more fixable is your employees that are chatting loud, go honk honk when they leave, when they say bye with each other at 1 a.m. in the morning, 12:30, that can easily be curtailed. Clients are a little bit more difficult. In the past, it's been said, please keep your clients, near the valet area. Oftentimes it starts, they've had a few drinks, so they spill out into the front street, and then you hear everything very clearly, all the giggling and everything else. So I think, and maybe even the police at times can do a little bit of patrolling at closing time of all the restaurants. You got the loud cars, the motorcycles, the fun revving. I never see the police at 11 or 12. And the reason also that there is no formal complaints written down, it is a pain to call the police. And usually it's not staffed by Piedmont, staffed by Orangeburg. They got to call Orangeburg, and they take forever to come over, 20, 30 minutes. By that time, a lot of the noise is gone. And if they do, they ask you, well, do you want the police to show up at your doorstep? We're sleeping, we're in our pajamas, and you have to get out, you have to get dressed, you have to talk to them, you got to make the whole case over again at 12:30 at night. So it's like, no, don't worry about it. I just want to make the note that we have a complaint, but there's no formal charge in those cases.
Thank you.
I see another neighbor of Trotta's sitting in the audience with his counsel who addressed the board on the last board meeting. While the owner is counsel here, would you like to address us?
Thank you, yes.
The client's experience?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. To remind you, Adam Curlin, I'm the attorney for Edward Huey. To my right, 731. So on the agenda tonight was a review of the special permit, and that's what I was thinking and expecting. Frankly, we are here to not only formally oppose it, we're here to affirmatively request its revocation. I mean, what's been going on with Trotta's is nothing but noise pollution to the nth degree, and it really has to stop. And we're going to get into some proof in a moment. But let's just start with what the special permit permits, which I'm shocked that Trotta's doesn't even, or is claiming to have no knowledge of it. Ignorance of the law is certainly no defense. So what does the special permit permit? Per the permit, the music to be played through the Sonos Sound Zone music system, intended to be low-level background music, typically played at restaurants while diners are eating, does not include live music, bands, or other live entertainment played on the outside of the premises. It certainly doesn't permit DJs, it certainly doesn't permit saxophone players walking through the premises inside and outside playing. What about consequences? The special permit says, if the Piedmont Police Department or building inspector request that the music be turned off, and it is not, that is what's called a prima facie or automatic violation of the code of the special permit. So what can happen then? We go to paragraph 5IH. I'm looking at, by the way, Dennis, July 2018 special permit, so we can talk about that. In my hand.
This is the one that was provided me by the building inspector. I didn't know there was a
Okay.
subsequent one.
Okay, we can discuss, but that's what I'm looking at.
I'd like to see a copy of that. Charlie,
Sure.
you could
So
sign it up.
I wrote to you today because you asked me at 5 to 4 that I
No,
go
no,
with the
no,
one that I could
no,
find, and I would look for others.
You provided it immediately to our pleasure, and thank you. We just were unaware that there was a special permit issue in 2018.
Yeah, I didn't know there was another
So
one.
thank you for that, Adam.
Sure, sure. Should the applicant fail to comply, or if the Board of Trustees determine that the music authorized under this condition has unreasonably affected the public health, safety, and welfare based on the reports of the police chief and building inspector, the special permit can be revoked. What happens then? It expressly states, if that happens, they revert to no music shall be played on the outside of the premises, whether on the deck, the riverfront area, or on any other exterior portion of the premises. And with the special permit revoked, then you defer to the noise ordinance, which, as it has been discussed here, says that there cannot be any noise amplified beyond the property. So, I know Mr. Huey, according to Trot, has had the, I guess, the audacity to complain, but maybe they haven't heard, or maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't know what he's been experiencing.
It's a time clock.
It was in full. Yeah. I thought it was in full. I don't know how close, and he's amplifying it out. So we
I'm not-
don't know how close he reported.
I'm sorry.
Could you start that over?
I thought it was
Yes,
in full.
I'm sorry.
Don't let them, don't let them.
If we can ask, right, there should be no
This is
crosstalk.
not a conversation between you two in this forum, and we are already within 3 minutes, so I would ask you to please wrap it up.
Okay, well, I'm gonna play a few of these, just about a minute total.
Yeah, times and locations for people.
Yes, and Mr. Huey had sent me probably 40 of these. Different times, different days, but it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Well, what you're playing for us tonight, do you have the date and the time and?
I don't have it on my phone, but he might have it at home, or maybe on your
How
phone.
far the microphone was?
So I'm recording from my home.
So this is from his backyard, which is 2 properties to the north. So in addition, Trata's own web,
You're amplifying that right now on the speaker. It's like brutal.
I would submit Mr. Huey might be able to confirm this, that what he hears is louder than that.
Oh, much louder. And I'm just using
My
an
speaker
iPhone.
isn't big enough.
I'm just using an iPhone.
All right, I will stop this. I have others, but I'll stop this. Trata's website and Instagram page expressly state on their homepage, live DJ, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So if I can present that to the board, just to be part of the record. In addition, I'm not gonna read from the police reports that I pulled. They're all pretty consistent. 5 are in 1 month. The police are called, they go to Trata's, they speak to a manager, the manager turns the music down. Okay, all well and good. Except what the police might not be experiencing, and what Mr. Huey can testify to, and perhaps others, hopefully others, the music is turned down for about 15 minutes, and then it goes right back.
And that is one of the challenges about enforcement of these things, is if the problem isn't apparent when the officer is there.
Well, no, the problem is apparent. The officer, you can read the reports, the officers actually will say that they heard the music loud outside the premises in the parking lot, but then the manager said, we'll turn it down. But the fact that it was loud to begin with is a violation of the special permit.
I'd also be happy to provide the video footage because I don't think this does it justice, and it is just from a regular iPhone from my property.
And we're not, right, this is not testimony, that's not evidence. All we're doing this evening is we're having a discussion with the operator of Trata to ask them if they would come into compliance with these conditions in the special permit. You've come to us before, you've expressed your concerns, we're aware of them. We're pursuing what we consider to be the most effective and least
contentious way of getting everyone into compliance with what they need to be. So I don't think there's, I understand you're making a big, we're asking for you to revoke this license. Please hold off on that until we go through the process of working with the property owner to get them to comply on their own with all the stipulations of the special permit. If you're unable to do that, it's a different conversation, but for now, please give us the time to work with this.
Well, so just a couple of very quick things. I mean, just as a postscript, Tratas has known about this hearing for the better part of 2 weeks. They've not changed at all. The music is still the exact same. The police have been called. So they're thumbing their nose at the village. They're thumbing their nose at the police. They're not taking any of this seriously. Perhaps if they're reading the special permit for the first time right now, they'll completely change their tune tomorrow, but I doubt it. Also, I just want to know, I mean, I understand this is an informal conversation, and hopefully Tratas will come into compliance. If they don't, is there a plan? Is there
I'm
an
not
expectation?
interested in discussing any plans beyond that or potentialities. We are giving them an opportunity to come into compliance. If they fail to come into compliance, we have means that we can use in order to force that or to have impact on them. It's too preliminary to be having a conversation about revocation of the license. This is successful business operating in the village of Fairmont. We don't want to have impact beyond what is necessary for enforcement and compliance.
I mean, successful or not, there are victims of their operation.
Could I
And
also,
it's, yeah.
could I also ask, going forward, if I believe there is an incident, what should I do? Currently, I'm reading, or recording by video. You can clearly see it from my home. I really don't want to annoy the police. This is far from, but, it needs to be on record.
It needs to be on record. So you're not harassing the police to call them when there is a situation that, is a noise complaint situation. We, in fact, request that you do, because unless we have that documentation of those complaints, we find ourselves in a situation where we know that there's a problem, but we can't document it, and that it makes it harder for us to compel someone to comply.
Understood. I did submit a FOIL request the end of last week for updated current police reports. The ones I have were from my last FOIL. Through,
Those are as of.
right, that was as of when they closed down for the winter, or closed down.
I've got a question for Dennis. I know that the building inspector can cite them for code violations, but those are going to be occurring after hours when he leaves for the day, because they're at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. Because the police are authorized to cite them for violations.
They can issue violations of our noise ordinance, which is it's chapter 134. But the conditions of the special permit, which apparently there was one in 2018, and get our hands on a copy of that.
Which apparently preclude by.
That would have to
Yes.
be issued by the
Building inspector.
Well, or there could be a revocation based upon the findings of the Board of Trustees that the music is just unreasonable and unreasonably affecting the public health and welfare of the community. There can be that independent finding.
And just so the owner of Tratas and his council is aware, I've reviewed the police report that you obtained through FOIL from October through November of last year. There are numerous reports by the police officer who arrived at the scene indicating that as he drove up, he heard music on the outside of the building. Clearly a violation of the 2015. I don't know about the 2018 special permit because I haven't seen it yet. Clearly a violation of 2015.
Agreed.
Charlie had
So, just so the board's clear, we had so many violations when 701 was there. When they took over, I have not been notified by the police like I used to be about problems there. And, I'm sitting here with Jimmy and we're talking about it. It dwindled down so low, they weren't contacting me to tell me that there were even problems there anymore because they were getting so few calls. Just so the board understands that, and the people here understand that. I don't want them to think that nobody's doing their job. It just diminished by so much that it wasn't even getting to my desk. And I think I spoke to the lawyer and told him that when he first made this complaint. And then I started asking Jimmy about it, and that's when Jimmy had told me, the chief had told me, I think at that time we got 10 complaints over the course of a year at the time. And that's so diminished compared to what it used to be, they never even got me involved, so it's changed.
Well, then their conduct has changed, because I produced 8 police reports in the matter of, what, a few months? And I didn't produce all of them, I just wanted to produce a select few. I have more. So
Again, I believe we're aware that there is an issue, we're looking at taking steps to address it, we need some time to be able to follow through those steps, and I just please bear with us as we move through that process.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And then say this was all about
Peter.
No, let me get them from Charlie. But if you want to send me a 2018 resolution as a courtesy, I'm grateful for your courtesies. And, but Charlie is going to thoroughly search the building department files for any other special permits that may have been issued after 2018. We should have all of them.
For trials.
Peter,
For trial. No, for every single business in the building. For trial. No, for 701 Piermont Ave, whoever was operating the business.
Good evening, my name is Peter Metzler, I live at 300 Hudson Terrace, which is up the hill from the establishment. And very quickly, the owner accused of us of harassing him by just basically, being woken up at 11 o'clock at night by noise, or at 2 o'clock in the morning by noise. And basically just, going through our citizen rights to having the ordinance and zoning, addressed. So we are not harassing you. Secondly, I also would love the police to be quicker and faster and more efficient in their coming out after complaints are made. I totally understand, though, the nature of our village, the size of our police, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, addressing what the building inspector said, diminished by so much is no reason to ignore the law. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. One other point that the chief and I have talked, and he thinks maybe we should do some spot checks if the board would authorize me to come down some nights to do spot checks just to see my interpretation of what's going on compared to theirs.
I think that's something that's worth consideration. I would not like to make that decision this evening.
Okay.
Right. That is all of our agenda items for this very long day this evening. So, somebody like to take, we're striking 13 as a, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn? So here a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank
That was the only one that would have been affected by the and one of the reasons like this is so that there isn't any confusion because, the state code has the rules now. Now, some of the zoning laws have CBS now put in something about work. Your response, that's going to be the one. All right, guys, have a good night. Thank you.